We came from wombs. All of us came from the womb. We came from water. We entered life, and we should be able to flow more naturally rather than be so rigid and be so controlling. And most of us are operating from a state of, I have to control things for there to be success, for me to see outcome, for things to work out. And over indexing on that controlling factor is why life has gotten to this place of difficulty, because many of us haven't learned how to flow. We haven't learned the importance of being resilient, adaptable, following your intuition, being creative, adjusting, expanding, working to work with the unknown, because there's always going to be variables that are out of our control in life. I've been forced into surrendering to that, honoring that for myself. Hey you, I'm Manisa. Today's video is for anyone who's wanting to make their feminine energy flourish. I'm going to share 5 tips to really enhance the feminine energy within you, whether you're a man or a woman, or you define yourself as non-binary. We all have feminine energy within us, yin energy as it's referred to, the yin yang. It's also our right side brain. It's a lot more of that being energy, sensing, our ability to be present, our ability to tune into our emotions, our intuitive strength, and really cultivating the sensual side of our lives really helps balance out the over-indexing on our left side brain, our masculine energy, which is the doing, the planning, the thinking, the strategizing, and a lot of what we're conditioned into under the patriarchy. And so if you've been feeling a lot of tiredness, if you've been feeling like you're overexerting a lot of this masculine energy and it feels a little pointless, it's also because it's been not just deeply imbalanced, as we've not been utilizing enough of our feminine energy, but it's also using our wounded masculine energy. So we'll get into this, but ultimately emphasizing a lot more of the toxic traits of masculine energy rather than really using our masculine energy to support our feminine energy and really allow our expression, creativity, and flow. Most of my videos are reflections, sharing wisdom from my lived experience, as I believe we are all each other's healers. We provide a mirror to each other to be able to see ourselves more clearly. So if something I share resonates with you, definitely take it. Take what you need and leave the rest. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. We've been uploading a video every week. So for this video ahead, I'm going to share writing. I love to share a little bit of writing because that's my creative expression. It's not the most creative avant-garde side of me. It's explicitly to help you and support you in moving through this theme of really embracing the feminine energy and allowing more flow and allowing more spaciousness and inner power to re-enter our lives, because many of us have gone down the external power road and it's deeply unsatisfying on a soul level over time, as I've experienced. And so what we're really needing is to lean into our creativity. Ultimately, I encourage you to always go down the channel of really exploring whatever creative expression really makes you feel alive. Writing is one that I'm so grateful to have held on to. Then we'll get into how the story explicitly became relevant and to me personally, and then we'll get into 5 tips to support your feminine energy flow. I follow flow. I should read this. I follow flow is the affirmation of the day. The silver river of my life, aliveness, the connected tissue between all of my parts, trust in the expansive unknown, deep surrender. These phrases show us the power of feminine energy, a hidden power that's rising within all of us, like an unavoidable tide that will push us to shore. So we must ride the wave or be dragged. If only more of us were taught to surf, it'd be less intimidating, maybe even joyful, exciting, rather than fear-inducing. Mama Moon knew we'd figure it out regardless. We were born to flow through her many tides. We just forgot. So that was a writing piece. Going into the story more explicitly, we came from wombs. All of us came from the womb. We came from water. We entered life, and we should be able to flow more naturally rather than be so rigid and be so controlling. And most of us are operating from a state of, I have to control things for there to be success, for me to see outcome, for things to work out. And over-indexing on that controlling factor is why life has gotten to this place of difficulty, because many of us haven't learned how to flow. We haven't learned the importance of being resilient, adaptable, following your intuition, being creative, adjusting, expanding, working to work with the unknown, because there's always going to be variables that are out of our control in life. I've been forced into surrendering to that, honoring that for myself. I personally was a person who was very much a girly girl maybe at one point in my life before I was 4 years old, and then it was deeply reinforced that I should be a contributor to the world, and I took that quite seriously, and my competitive edge was very heightened, and I was always this kid by 6 years old who was playing Monopoly and made it no fun for everyone because I was a mogul and took all the money, and it just continued down that avenue. And I was reinforced by my dad and peers around me, like, yeah, make money, yeah, competitive number one, whatever, this and that. And so I started to identify with a lot of this wounded masculine energy within me. And slowly but surely, the feminine energy within me had less of a spotlight, seemed less valuable. I shared short clips on YouTube around the heroine's journey, popularized by Maureen Murdoch. And it's a really valuable one for us to tune into to understand the full landscape. And I will make a separate video on this, and I will make additional videos on feminine energy and masculine energy, because it's a constant theme of life. And in the healing journey and in emotional fulfillment, you will ultimately need to start to heal both sides and integrate them, and then you'll go through a new level of healing both sides and integrating them. I would say for me, definitely reinforced through living a life here in capitalistic United States, and being affirmed in achieving and getting good grades and going to a good college and working a lot and making money, and affirmed in that path. But what it didn't provide me was a deep sense of inner fulfillment, external power for self-fulfilling purposes, rather than when you feel that inner power, you want to become powerful and you want to empower other people. So it's a much grander form of power. And the way that mine came into my life was through my soul awakening and really starting to tune into my true self and my true soul's journey, which was the journey of my intuition, which also led me to have a Kundalini awakening last year and go further down, having to surrender, because really it was this intense level of energy coming through my body that was debilitating ultimately, and I had to really sit in meditation. I'd been in therapy for many years since I was 18. I'd been doing a lot of self-healing work, but this was like a new, grander level, and we go through these different cycles of needing to balance ourselves out, because maybe it is a period in life where we have to double down and work a lot, or it is a period in life where a parent dies and we really have to lean into our emotional relationship with them and showing up for them. And so just honoring that the seasons of life are continually shifting, but to have the awareness that we need a rebalancing is huge. And I've noticed that I needed the rebalancing in approaching love and relationships most hugely, because this masculine energy that was deeply serving me and making money does not serve me in having a healthy relationship if I'm so into my masculine energy. And it leads to a harsh level of self-criticism and criticism of other partners, and a level of me feeling stressed all the time and not having a libido. And so there's actually really real things that I don't mind sharing about personally, because there's so many coaches and people who are speaking and clearly they're projecting rather than sharing from what's personally going on with them. And I'm only fascinated in this topic because it's supporting me and I'm working through it currently. And so I knew that this was a valuable topic to share with you, because whether you go through a Kundalini awakening, hopefully not, or you go through some level of life is stopping me from working in the structured, controlled way that I used to. It's not fulfilling, or it's really just not supporting my well-being. I'm having a health crisis, as many of my female friends especially faced. Then you got to alter your behavior, and you have to start living in a way that's going to support your well-being and moving forward, because that's our highest form of wealth, in my opinion. I think health is number one, because it allows us to be here and it not to be such a journey of suffering. Feminine energy is really valuable for us to cultivate and for us to find within ourselves, because we all have it. And for myself, I'm supposed to be like 80% of my feminine energy, and I was like, how am I gonna keep living in the most expensive cities in this world and operate from my feminine energy? Is it possible to be powerful? I don't see that many leadership examples, but maybe they're just not in plain sight because we've pedestalized a lot of toxic masculine figures or women who are willing to work within that level of the matrix. And that's what I grew up with. I went to a feminist college at Gloria Steinem's college, Smith College, and it was really about working like a man. We can do everything men can do. Absolutely not interested. I didn't create this system. It's not been serving me. It didn't serve my indigenous ancestors. Not into it. Not conducive to the well-being of this land. Very extractive. Not here for it. And so now in this new season of life, how do I be counterculture in the way that I feel inside and my value system, and continue to be here and still be in the contradiction and the juxtaposition, the polarity, the reality that we live in, right? So 5 ways to support your feminine energy in flowing. First, creativity. Creative wellness became so important to me to emphasize to you all because it's been the savior in my life, allowing yourself to figure out what ways you feel you can be expressed and you can be imaginative and you can tune into the landscape, the allness that you are. You can bring your dreams, your visions, your ideas, things you notice, sensitivities into a medium you can communicate. So that might be writing, it might be dancing, you might be a painter, you might find that you feel creative just cooking in the kitchen. Whatever it is, really tuning into it, because what makes an artist is that who infuses beauty and infuses love into what they're making. And in your honoring of your creativity on a daily basis, honoring your health, your creative health, your creative wellness will liberate you, because in that you'll feel and your soul will get the note, I am being listened to. Make the art that says to your soul, I'm listening. So for me, usually I start with writing down dreams and things that are arising for me and themes, and just remaining curious. I'll go into dancing, I'll go into cooking, I'll go into all these small creative practices. I also do acting auditions, and I do more performative, larger things in life. But creativity is all the small things. It's all the little moments that allow us to feel like we're making something special. And we loved to do this as children. All of us would move to a little music. If you put on music and a baby's there, they'll be dancing. They'll find their rhythm, and allowing that back into your life and honoring your inner world and your inner landscape, even if it's not to share on social media or for the public or for exhibition, it's really for yourself. First and foremost, allow that flow. Number 2, connecting with other people who have strong feminine energy. So as I mentioned, feminine energy is presence. It's worthiness and being enough, who you are here right now. Obviously, you can find so many role models on YouTube, particularly of people who are in their feminine energy. They're like moms, and they're guys who are just very emotionally expressive. I like Man Enough podcast. I found Glennon Doyle powerful. There's just so many leaders this day and age who are talking around emotions and really trying to be living embodiments of their values. And I really love listening to people talk about the womb and talk about the cycles of the moon and talk enthusiastically and express themselves. And they're creative, they're artists. Tune into connections with people who allow their creative expression and their eccentricity, who take care of themselves, who really nurture their well-being. Spend time with people who wonder, who dream. It'll continue to infuse that back into your life, and you'll find yourself mirroring it. We become a lot of what we surround ourselves with. We are naturally sponges, all of us, to some degree or another. You have a level of porosity, and I was definitely absorbing so much toxic masculine energy, and now that I've kind of wrung my sponge out a bit of that energy, it's less in my system. It doesn't mean that you're not productive, because it's really healthy to have that, like I said, masculine energy that's healthy and grounded and says, hey, we need to be disciplined, we need to follow through on our commitments, have integrity in our word, but we don't need to be vicious. We don't need to be so harsh around these things. We know that we're going to do it. We're compassionate. We do it from a place of love. We don't always have to do it from a place of fear baiting ourselves or scarcity, etc., because that bleeds into how we treat other people anyway. So yeah, ultimately, tune into feminine energy role models, tune into people you have a connection with, really enhance your feeling of I can be safe here, I can be expressed here, I can be creative here, I can be moving, I can be sensual in this presence of person. Number 3, feminine energy loves to flow. So feminine energy loves movement. Move your body. A huge way to tap into your feminine energy is to find movement that really feels good to you. It might be an athletic sport, it might be dancing, it might be ecstatic dance, it might be movement of walking, but it's really valuable to be in the process of moving and letting energies work through us, not sitting at a desk all day. And so one huge way to allow more feminine energy to re-enter your life is really by moving. I found dance so healing when I was going through heartbreak. I find dance so healing constantly in life. I return to putting music on and dancing in the mirror. Do whatever feels good and comfortable to you. I'm really big on people honoring whatever movement feels good. Surfing, if that's your thing, basketball, if that's your thing, but getting out with others and really finding a healthy level of movement can bring you back into your senses and your physical body's knowledge of how you're doing. Because what the wounded masculine lives off of is us disconnecting with our physical body. Many people don't feel good doing the things that we're forced to do, right? It doesn't feel good to sit for 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day even, in one position, staring at a screen. And as you start leaning more deeply into what feels good, your body's just going to be the guiding system. Take the risk of being a role model and being a leader at this time to live in an alternative way that feels good in your physical body, even if it's coming with a little bit of a trade-off. Number 4, which we touch on pretty actively, is to find your feminine flow, tune into your intuition. So our body in totality is one huge way to get guidance on what ways to move and what direction to take, but we also have a deep compass, inner compass. Some really feel it in Anahata heart chakra. They feel it as their hridaya, their spiritual hearts, and feel it as intuitive hits to their solar plexus. Some people say it's a gut feeling. A lot of people get knowledge in different ways. I get knowledge through so many of my senses. They're very heightened. Continuing to up-level in the ways that you're taking in information will move you closer to your intuition. And so we also had an episode that I'll link here. Watch that video on signs and synchronicities. Really starting to notice the patterns, the signs, the synchronicities. What are people telling you should do? What should you be taking note of that might be different than what you expected, but is a reoccurring appearance in your life? It's supportive to you. I have the belief that our highest self is always supporting us and moving forward, and breadcrumbs for us to follow. And when we're in such the logical side, rational side of our mind, we're like, what's the point for me to deter my usual comfort zone and do something that is risk-taking? And our intuition saying, please, for this lifetime to be more deeply fulfilling, for you to experience an expanded life experience, because we're curious, because we're going to die, why not live it in a way that invites in change, explore more sides and parts of ourselves in this one body? Wouldn't that be fun if you could take life more playfully? Practices to heighten your intuition. I use a lot of cards. I use oracle cards, I have angel cards, I have tarot. I think intuitive work that involves connecting with trees and nature is really powerful. I think there's just such a huge landscape of things that you can do to connect with your intuition and really finding the thing that lights you up, that feels exciting for you, but really just coming back when it comes to the fork in the road and there's a decision to be made. Know what the practical route is, know what the heart-based route is, and then maybe know what the random route is. What would be a spontaneous random thing you could do? And start to realize how many forks there are in a road, because oftentimes we would have thought there was just one path through. And then as we get to connect with our intuition, we realize there's so many different avenues. And that's what flow is, right? There's this linear path, and then there's so many other paths that might ultimately lead us to a better outcome, that might lead us to more ascension, that might lead us maybe backwards and then forwards at 10x the pace. We really don't know, and that's what following the unknown is. And we trust and surrender to it because it leads to a more exciting life. And then finally, last but not least, the way to heighten your feminine energy and flow is to practice meditation. So without the mindfulness and awareness of what is arising for us in our mind and in our thinking, then it's hard to find new ways forward because we are getting caught in reactive states. And so what meditation, which I would actually call a little bit more of a masculine energy, to be still, but the feminine energy aspect of it is to be, to not always be doing. The masculine energy is a lot about doing and we overdo in our cultures. We are constantly overscheduled, over-indexed, overdoing, and not holding that space to just be and be the observer, be more connected to our heart space, be in our intuition, to be in our bodies, to be in our feminine energy, to flow. Holding that time to really just be in stillness more regularly. Make decisions from a place of harmony so you can understand your emotional states and be able to communicate on them. I found it really interesting that going through this Kundalini awakening where it's like super feminine energy flowing, that the only way that I could stabilize it is by grounding, is by really sinking into a stronger masculine container, one of stillness that allowed me to then flow. Because the aim is to be like water, as Bruce Lee says, and then trust that life will also be the container, that we will also provide the container for ourselves. So we just have to be the water that adapts into the new situations, into the new variables. And we'll be resilient, and life will throw us curveballs. Big tides, big waves are constantly coming our way, but the more you cultivate that feminine energy, it's not just to become more beautiful and buy yourself flowers, it's also because that is life, that is the nature of being human, and the human existence is a feminine existence, is constant unknown. Yes, we need to create structure at times, but yes, we also need to flow at times. Yes, we need to be in the doing, and sometimes we have to just be in the being, and we can honestly have that full beauty and polarity within us, the better that we'll be. Also, this is not self-improvement where do these things more to have results. It's actually be, relax, take spaciousness. You are innately born with everything that you need to move through this life. We pick up things that are not serving us, and so it's more about putting those down. I hope that this video supported you in knowing that your feminine energy is so worthy of flowing into your life more fully. I'm wishing you so much ease in approaching this week ahead, and sending you so much love.